Thank you for being here tonight, Father Tom. It's so good to be with you. And I know that we've had a couple of conversations about what it would be like to have a formal type of process called Conversations with All Saints. And so when we think about just that name, Conversations with All Saints, what comes to your mind as you hear that title?
Well, I see them as kind of an informal kind of way of talking about issues that might be important to anybody that tunes into the website or might show up on a Sunday morning, or things that they might be asking.
Yeah.
And they could be about current events and issues with the current society or whatever, and kind of it might be informative about what our history is, and also about how the parish in the past has dealt with issues, and what we represent, why we're a little peculiar and what we do, and what that comes from.
Yeah.
So that kind of background might be helpful.
I love that idea of having an informal conversation and chats where it sounds like it's welcoming to anyone who are curious about All Saints and about our church, our history, and about perhaps themselves, their own interests, and what draws them right. into their work, into their life.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's one of the reasons why I came in mufti tonight. So,
Good.
because I thought questions that we had talked about that we might want to discuss. I think you were asking me if I wanted to speak in terms of what I thought personally, and not so much what the church says about this or anything, but how my own experience and so on. So I thought maybe this would remind me not to use cliche and religious talk.
Excellent, excellent. And that's exactly what this is meant to be kind of personal and welcoming at the same time. So share a little bit about you. Thinking about the history of the church and thinking about what All Saints as a church represented, can you share a little bit about who you have been in this time and what brought you to All Saints?
Well, I've been here for 47 years. I was thinking about that today. I can tell you what brought me here first. I had served in the church for about 8 years after I graduated from seminary. I was serving a parish here in town when the rector retired. And so it's customary that everybody leave, but provision had been made that we might, Gordon and I, both of whom were on the staff, my husband now, might continue to kind of support them through their interim thing. But it was obvious, Gordon and I had formed a chapter here of integrity, which is for gay people and their friends, to be an affirming kind of thing during the time of, the orange juice queen, Anita Bryant.
Yeah, Anita Bryant. Yeah.
And the big thing was her quest to remove primarily school teachers who were gay from teaching in the schools and so on, and in Florida. And it raised the issue that the church here also had not been very sensitive to gay people. So here at All Saints, Gordon and I had formed a chapter of integrity to kind of be encouraging to gay people. So my experience with the parish, with this particular parish, was pretty deep prior to this time. So anyway, it became a question at the time of the rector's departure from the other parish that Gordon and I, both being gay, was probably not a good thing in the 1970s, in the sense that in a power vacuum that might, and it definitely would have been an issue in that parish. So, but from our perspective, there was no question about our ministry or our capabilities at the time. We were really relieved of our responsibility ultimately because we were gay. And not that we even, Gordon and I were not in a relationship at that time. In fact, that grew afterwards, and some of the experience we had pulled us closer together. Anyway, so that's the events which brought me to this place. But we were both looking for work, and we had both experienced a couple of things that for white guys that grew up in suburbs were really astonishing.
Yeah.
Because at the time, two things that really happened. Gordon and I decided that during that transition time we would take an apartment together, only to find out that we were turned down for financial reasons, although I had already gotten a job here at All Saints, so I was working, and Gordon had 6 months of severance. So we couldn't quite understand why we were turned down for financial reasons.
That didn't seem to be quite the reason.
Yeah, it
for
didn't
the-
seem
for
to
the
be quite the
rejection.
reason until we found out that the manager of the apartment which we had tried to rent was a member of the vestry of the parish we were leaving.
I see.
That isn't too coincidental, you know. And then Gordon had also been working or had a job opportunity with the State Board of Health, and was rejected from the job because it happened that the overseer, whoever was the second level of boss, had also been on the vestry of
Oh
the
my,
parish or
yeah.
leaving. So you know, we were not. We had real personal experience of discrimination, and so we found a home here, primarily because the rector sought us out at the time, knowing what was going on, and wanted to be sure that we knew that we were much welcome, even though we were a little bit irritated with the church.
Yeah.
And it was a little bit more than a little bit. That we would be most welcome here. I must tell you that the first Sunday that we were here, we happened to know the congregation fairly well. The thurifer was a gay man who'd been in prison for being involved in a murder.
Oh my.
There were two little black girls, were acolytes, twins, and the interesting thing about that was primarily that they were girls who were acting as acolytes, and this again is the 1970s,
Right.
you know, so there were girls on the altar. The deacon for the day was Jackie Means, who was the first woman to be ordained in this place. And the subdeacon was a white woman who was married to a black man. And then Jack Eastwood, who was just the warmest, old, you know, just a warm-hearted, open kind of guy.
Yeah.
And that said to me very loudly, this is a place where all of God's broken people can be and can be whole and receive the bread and wine as who they were.
Wow.
That's all symbolic, and you know, this is a parish like any parish, and there are all kinds of people with all kinds of things, but I was always very much aware that it was a place where people of diverse backgrounds and could find themselves and be, and so that was just my experience, that I felt loved here, and to be whoever I was, and it was a time of being pretty broken, frankly, and Jack invited us to be at the altar if we wanted to be, and to do what we wanted to do. And if we just wanted to sit in the pew, that's fine. But if we wanted to be at the altar, if we wanted to preach, if we wanted to exercise our ministry, and we were both looking for secular jobs at that time, because it would have been very difficult as a gay person, and we had both decided we were going to be open about this, because hiding, neither one of us wanted to hide anymore. And this was a place we could be. But that was a different time. But I think for Gordon and me, the most important thing was to be present. And we felt that our ministry was just to be quiet and be there. Now, several people left the congregation because we were here, and because Jack had made that invitation to us. But I have to say, it is probably the only reason that I continue to be involved in the church in any kind of active way. I mean, I think that was an incredibly generous move on his part. He wasn't going to, he was just that accepting, and the parish turned out to be that warm to us.
I'm struck by how, coming out of a situation when you're talking about perhaps the institution of the church.
Oh, yes.
Was quite staid in its way or practice, which was uninviting and unaccepting. And then you come to another church. But what you receive is, first, you see it. You witness a difference and a change. You experience, you could feel it.
Yeah.
And that spoke to you.
Yeah.
It's like receiving water.
Sure.
When you've been very thirsty, right?
Yeah, it was a very generous thing on the part of the parish.
I'm struck by your description of what you saw, to the people that were here, who was on the altar, all of that. Symbolic as it really spoke loudly.
One of the things that always strikes me, that when I'm distributing communion, I look at the hands. And you know most of the people who are there, and you know what they're struggling with.
Yeah.
And there's something about placing bread in those hands, and to just to understand what they may be struggling with. And I think that brings me to one of the questions, and that is. This is something that we were going to talk about later, but one of the hardest things, I think, for any Christian is believing, and believing in God.
Yeah.
There is so much in the world which is painful, and we all come with all kinds of brokenness. I had a client when I was working for the bank for many years. I was as a trust officer, who was a Jewish lady who, and this has been running through my mind today as I think about some of these things. She and her husband had escaped from Austria in the early years of the Second World War. And they escaped first to England and then came over and were here. And I don't know how we got onto it one day, because it wasn't my practice to discuss anything religious by any means. I think I had asked her about something to do with her account. She was reflecting on some of the pain that she had been through because all of her family had been wiped out by the Nazis. And she offered in conversation, you know, I find it very difficult to believe in God when I see all the pain in the world. Well, yeah, I could respond to that theologically and say, well, you know, if you're going to have free will, I mean, those are the ways we talk about it. But the real thing is that I think there's so many people who kind of go through trauma, which really makes it impossible for them to reach out to God. And so I struggle. You know, it seems just because someone's a priest doesn't mean that they don't have this same periodic experience of depression or whatever it is, that they don't also feel that the striving to believe in God is easy. And if that's really the goal. And then last Sunday when Bishop Lee was talking in his sermon about that, I thought, this is the kind of thing that happens. I connect with that. That the thing about faith is that it's an active kind of thing. It's the work.
Right.
It's the work that you do that changes how you view the universe, how you view your relationship, and what causes you to grow. It's a positive kind of thing. And that's one of the characteristics of All Saints, is that I feel like there's a kind of real understanding that it's not a matter of being at some kind of goal, that we're all kind of on a path someplace.
A journey.
We are all in the process, and that we, over a period of time, we learn something.
Yeah.
And so for me, I have to say that it's a matter of, I know that my values have changed over my lifetime because of the experiences that I've had, but also because of this place. And I never felt I had to be anybody here other than who I was. And that, yes, there were times I have done things that I regret, but it's a lot about like life. You don't know until you're into it and you've been through it, that that's when you grow.
I was really struck by what you said about people who have suffered a lot of trauma and pain, and the role that plays in sometimes keeping people away from a sense of trusting in God or faith. And also understanding that doubt is a welcome part of the process of faith, and that it's okay to have doubt. It's okay to not know, but it's that searching, it's that persistence, it's that continuing on that is part of that faith journey that you're just describing.
Yeah, I think that's the thing that makes, well, we've all had friends, you know, who have had terrible things happen to them, and they have come out on the other side, and that is, you know, it's so much part of their personality, and also it's a way of, you know that they're real.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's a way
Yeah.
of making people real. And to be in a community to live in a community that accepts the fact that life is not easy. And for many of us, it is easier. I mean, let's face it, we haven't had horrible things happen to us, and God bless them. You know, you hope that there are a lot of people like that. But at the same time, I think that part of people's development and understanding is because of the kinds of experience, positive and negative. But in the end, if we're going to have hope, which is you know, the only thing we live on, really, the only way that's going to happen is that you're in a place that accepts reality as being. We're all human beings, and we don't need to justify those things. Anyway,
No, it's good. Thank you for that. I'm just thinking about what drew you to All Saints and your first experiences with All Saints, where you felt welcomed and understood and became known. How did the 70s and the 80s and the 90s either support that, further that, or what were some of the challenges that happened in those times as well?
Yeah, well, of course, I guess it was the late 80s, early 90s. Couple things happened that I saw happen here that, well, one was the state of Indiana closed all the mental institutions and threw all those people out on the street in November.
Yes.
And it was with some pain, because there was a lot of risk involved in this, frankly, that you might not be aware of. But Nan Pete was our rector there, and she didn't miss a step. Stepped right into it and said, we're going to open our doors, and we're going to have people sleeping in the pews. And the parish stepped right up and said, okay, but you know, there are all kinds of, what's the liability? We had all those human anxieties about what we were doing. And you know, it disrupts just about everything, and you had to get people who were willing to stay here overnight with a bunch of people, and then there were fights. I mean, it was just chaos. At one point, some guys got into a fight and knocked the baptismal font over and chipped it. And, you know, I mean, it was not always pleasant.
Real life was happening.
Life was happening, right.
Real life was happening.
And it would have been easy enough for us to shut the doors and say, okay, guys, you know, out of here, and make our life simple.
Right.
But that's not what we did. And then Nan got the Metro Center involved. That was the parishes around us and so on. And they got interested in the project, and it ended up being the Dayspring Center and what was our parish hall. And then the major churches chipped in together and built us a smaller facility that was, because the congregation wasn't all that big at that time. It was a building that was sufficient at the time for us. And so, I mean, that's one of the things that happened. And then, of course, later in the 80s, towards the end of the 80s, when AIDS became a problem, that was about the time that Gordon was working as the executive director of Damien Center. And the Damien Center was founded primarily by the canon to the ordinary for the diocese, Earl Connor, and then they had a facility provided by the Roman Catholic Church a few blocks away, the cathedral, and they developed a ministry to gay people, primarily gay people, but people with AIDS primarily, and HIV, and doing instruction and so on. And one of the things we found there was, and this is all old history. I mean, we've all heard it, but there were so many people that, funeral homes weren't going to bury them. They were afraid that processing the bodies and so on, getting them ready, could infect people, and you know.
There was a lot of fear.
There was a lot of fear. A lot of it out of context. You know, it was kind of like COVID. You got a little bit more anxious about it than. But anyway, so we decided that we would provide funeral. We would provide, you know, without cost, because these guys were mostly, you know, their insurance was gone, and you know. So that's one of the things. And so I thought, you know, that's the kind of thing that that we've done. And in more recent years, I think we have seen ourselves supportive of trans people, and it's kind of edgy, and it's not the kind of thing that a suburban type parish easily confronts, except that today, you know, those parishes have openly gay people in them, and it's become more normal. And so, but part of that is because we've been a presence here. Yes. And I was having a conversation with one of the longtime parishioners way back when, Steve Godfrey. In fact, you might remember the Godfrey family that was here. And Steve was visiting because his parents moved into a retirement community, and he was here visiting them. And I asked him about All Saints. And he said, you know, All Saints has always done things with intention. And when I think of the liturgy at All Saints, it is intentionally what it is. And you know who you are, and you do it with intention. And so I've been thinking about what he might have meant by that. And I think because the liturgy is not the normal cup of tea in an Anglican parish, and yet there are other parishes in other cities that are more similar to ours. But, and I don't like the term Anglo-Catholic very much. I think that has a kind of negative feeling, because it means usually fussy and formal and rigid, and I mean, those are the things it's come to be viewed as. But what I like is Oxford movement, and that goes back to Father Carthy, I think here. He's the one that said, this is an altar-centered social justice parish. In other words, and that's what the movement was about at the turn of the 19th, 20th century. It was about ministering to those who are on the edge and to reaching out to those people. And in order to get the strength to do that, you started at the altar. And that meant, you know, that's kind of where the high church thing kind of evolved. And so that the type of service and the focus was doing these things in the context of the church. So I think our context of the Eucharist, in other words, the feeding of people is also the communion thing, you know, and the activity as a way of teaching and as a way of reminding ourselves as we do this work what it is. And that's, anyway, I've gone off on a tangent.
Oh, no, I think you're making a great point, because I think it is in, you know, you talked before about putting the bread in the hands, and you're talking about getting your strength from the altar and what that means. And to me, it's about sufficiency. You know, it's about all sufficiency. Whatever the need is being provided. And sometimes you don't know what's going to happen next.
Right.
But that's where the faith part comes in.
Right.
Of doing the work, and it's in the process of doing the work that the work of God gets done. And I think that's a powerful thing. So when you're naming all of these social, political challenges that was faced in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, and we're looking at what the social, political challenges are right now. Very similar, right?
Yeah,
And
I think it follows right on.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, for instance, I mentioned that in most parishes, the kinds of things that we were doing way back when, that we didn't know what we were doing, and we probably didn't do very well. But a lot of those things, you know, because we were doing them, people realized the need was there. And I'm kind of person who believes in government. I think the government, because of its resources, they can have oversight. They can afford to do the kinds of regulation that need to be done in order to get something done. They've got the sources of funding that volunteer organizations can't have.
Right. The
And
infrastructure.
Now just to think about that and think, okay, what are the sorts of things that are happening now? What we see in society is that the government dumping oversight, firing people in government that control programs, and taking away funding, and
all the safeguards.
All the safeguards are gone. The kind of regulation is it's just being disregarded and so on. That's happening, and people are suffering, and so I think, you know, when the government was doing these programs, they weren't perfect, but they were a lot better than what we were doing voluntarily in little bits here and there.
Right.
They were organized, and people got fed on a much bigger level, and more consistency and so on, when the government was really working.
Yes. Yeah.
And now, there are all these questions are coming up, and they of course, I think those are important things to be done. And now that's happening, I keep thinking, well, what are we called to do now? And I think this is a time that we're being called really to be faithful again.
Yes.
And I don't know exactly what that means yet. I don't have any easy answers about it, but I think that we're going to be pushed to stand up, and I don't know.
I think it's similar to what you experienced when you first came to All Saints.
Yeah.
Where you saw the examples of things you hadn't seen before.
Yeah.
And it spoke to you and said, oh, that's possible.
Yeah.
I want to be a part of that.
Yeah.
And I think what people may be experiencing now, when their food is threatened and their housing is threatened and their child care is threatened, when their jobs are threatened, or when people just feel threatened because they don't have those safeguards, then people have to turn to each other and say, I want to help, because we have to help each other.
Yeah.
And hopefully people begin to see things they haven't seen before. People are experiencing, a lot of people are experiencing things they've never experienced before. They heard about it, but they didn't really see it. They didn't experience it. But now people are experiencing things they never thought they would experience. And I think out of that comes a kind of courage, along with the fear,
Well,
to say, okay, we don't know what we're doing, but let's try.
yeah.
And people come together and they make things happen. I wonder, as you're talking about, we're called to be faithful. Can we be called to be there for each other and do for each other in ways that meets the need?
Yeah, and the need is going to be, it's going to take us 10 years to get out of this, if not more. And, but we need to be able to speak up.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be our challenge.
Yeah.
And how do we do it?
Yeah,
I have no answer to that yet. I don't have no idea. But to be brave. And
I like that, brave. It is going to take bravery and courage.
yeah,
You know,
exactly.
because it's scary. It's scary.
It certainly is.
But to know that there's something on the other side of that fear, that can help us move forward.
Yeah, and what we do is we find here the kind of reassurance that that's how we all grow, and we get our sustenance together, and our courage together, but and we get fed at the altar.
Yes. Yeah.
And I'm not sure how deeply I even understood that, even though I was ordained, I was working in a parish, but I'm not sure that I understood the gravity of that when, before my own experience and before. This is a place that has always affected how I understood myself and challenged me in that way. And that's no light thing in my mind.
When you think about the now and where All Saints have been, there's a big sign on the outside that says all are welcome. What does that mean to you in the times we're in now, to those who perhaps aren't familiar with a church or a church like All Saints?
Yeah, I don't know how we're going to minister to the people that, I'm not even sure they're going to ask the same questions that we will. But everyone is welcome. It was put up there, I think, in the 1950s. I think that's when the sign appeared. And in the 1950s, there was a lot of poverty right here in this neighborhood. The old houses had been broken up into small apartments so that people could afford to live in them. And that's not the case today. The old houses have been taken over and returned to single-family dwellings, and that's what pushed a lot of the families out. And our congregation is a little different now. Our congregation is, pardon me, is young professionals, I think, and young families, which we don't know what to do with because we don't have a Sunday school, and it's not an easy transition, but we'll be challenged to do it. And also we have different ways that people are meeting us now, and online and so on, and that's all. It's all going to happen in someone young enough to understand this stuff can take over. That's not a very clear answer.
Well,
but
no,
it's a bit.
I think you're saying new things are going to come.
Yeah.
As we face the challenges of the now, new things will come from that as well.
Well, along that line, I mean, that's some of the things that we have to think about as we call a new priest. Is how do we position ourselves to be true to our identity, which as an Oxford Movement parish, and the kinds of things that we want to do. So to be true to our history, but yet be vital enough to be responsive. And how do we, that person who comes needs to be able to show us some of these things, or to fight with us to find them.
Right.
You know, that's the thing. To get us to move off. It's very easy for us to slide back into the situation of respecting what we had, which is a really interesting and bright history, but not to move on and to keep us vital. And it's challenging, and so much in life is in turmoil these days, and it's going to be, and in dealing with these coming issues. How do we get the energy?
That's the word. how to get the energy and maintain it. Maintain that energy.
Yeah, I'm 81 years old, so you know, change is getting hard for me, and that's. But I know it has to happen because the vitality of this place is dependent upon it. And you know, the place, there's a lot of history here that we've dealt with change, and we've dealt with it early on, and we've faced it. And you know, the whole church in this diocese is changed in that time too, and not just because of us, but there was a presence here that said this needs to be done.
This is important.
This is important, and I think that presence is crucial to the diocese. I think is respected in the diocese. I know the bishop has said to me many times, there's an important reflective presence there.
That reminds me of the importance of a witness. I think of All Saints as a type of witness to what has happened in life, right? And what has happened in life has happened right here. It's happened right here, not only in this building, but to the people in the building, to this neighborhood. And being a witness, not running away from that, but embracing it. And boldly standing up, intentionally standing up and saying, here we are. What would you say to those who are yet to come, perhaps to see All Saints? What would you hope for them when they visit or inquire about this place?
Well, the first thing I think is and I think this will happen automatically, is the kind of welcome that they know that old plastic sign that's stuck on the front of the building is real.
Yeah.
And that has to be constantly, we have to remind the congregation that welcome is a vital thing. So that, and we have to project ourselves as having, our liturgy has integrity, and I think has a sense about it which is transformative. So the feeling will come, you know, in time.
Yeah.
But first sight, we're a little bit reserved, so not everybody's going to see it right away.
Yeah.
They're not going to understand what we stand, they're not going to understand what the gravity of what we are. It takes a little time for that, but we have to be embracing and then let the Spirit work.
Right.
Well, that sounds a little cliche, but
But there's some truth to that.
well, of course it is.
Yeah.
But we have to be honest about who we are, and I think we have to look look at our shortcomings along that way too. You know.
This is going to be an exciting time. As challenging as it is, I'm excited about it. You know, as we are in the search for a new rector and being blessed by our interim Bishop Lee.
Yeah.
This is an exciting time.
He's
and to see the two of you lead is exciting as well.
I have enjoyed Bishop Lee's presence as short a time as it has been, but there's something about how fortunate we were that he was available and that the work of the diocese to make it happen so that he could be here. I mean, the fact is that there are very few interims available these days, and that we would together someone that has that kind of hopeful and intensity. Somebody who is of that stature, which gives us all great relief that something good's going to happen, and the expectation. Because his presence alone kind of sets the tone that we need, and I think makes it possible for us to do what we really we know we have to do anyway.
Right.
And rather than feeling like we're kind of lost in the process, we've got a strong leader that's going to help us through it. So.
And you can tell, you can feel it.
Yeah.
You can see it. Yeah. I appreciate the opportunity to have this conversation with you. Is there anything that you would like to leave us with in terms of thoughts as you reflect on kind of the launching of Conversations with All Saints? What do you think?
Well, the big thing on my mind right now, of course, is we've got pledge campaign coming up.
Yeah, that's true.
But and that's going to be a challenge too. Next year is going to be a financial challenge to us. That's the first one that comes off the top of my head. But we can do it. You know, I have been amazed every time. I've said this before. Every time I've felt that we needed to push to do something, it's actually happened.
Yeah.
And if we can face this with courage, it'll happen. And I mean, there's a lot of stuff that's going to work against us, but All Saints has been here 150 years, and I'm sure that there have been challenges that have felt like they were heavier than this one. Although it seems big for us, I know at the time.
Yeah, but we've come through some tough times and had glorious times in the tough times.
Yeah.
And so this feels like we will experience some of that again.
Well, we have to remember that maintaining what we have here is based on openness and that our worship has integrity and those things that will help a great deal.
Yeah.
Give us hope.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And thank you for being our first conversation.
Well, I hope you have many more.
We look forward to it, and perhaps our next person will be Bishop Lee.
I certainly hope you have a conversation with him.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
And blessings to you.
Thanks.
Yeah.